Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Project Seed Money podcast. My name is Sharissa Bradley, and I am so excited to be joined here today with author Kim Lengling. Thank you so much for being here and spending a little time with me today.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to hang out with you. I'm excited.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I did a little bit of research to see what types of books that you write, and I just think that what you're doing in the community is so beautiful, and the type of work that you do is so beautiful. So I just want to dig right in and ask, have you always wanted to be an author?
No, no, I have not. I grew up in a small town. It was stereotypical small town America. You know, you drive through that one stoplight sign and there's, American flags everywhere and you just go, America, that kind of town. And I didn't really, at the time, there was no really option for me to go to college or anything like that. So I joined the military, went into the Air Force. And after that time, came home and thought, ugh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because I did Morse code in the military, and that doesn't really translate to civilian life very well. So,
Okay.
like, what am I going to do? So I ended up doing administrative, secretarial type work for years. And then one time I applied for a job I was not qualified for at all. And I thought, I'm going to just chuck this out there and see what happens. And the part that I entered was I enjoy writing. I was interviewing veterans and sharing their stories in a weekly newspaper. But I didn't consider myself a writer. I had been asked to do that after giving a speech, and someone said, hey, you want to do this? And I said, okay, but I didn't consider myself a writer. So the owner of this company at the interview said, why did you include all of your volunteer work? And I said, well, let's still work. It's unpaid, but it's a whole nother skill set that I can bring to the table. And he said, that's what that's what caught my attention was your volunteer work, not your skill set. And it was very interesting. And he asked about what I'm writing and why I'm writing. And that, along with the newspaper editor years back that said, who wrote your speech for you? Because it was very, very well received. I'd never spoken in public before, and it was before like 800 veterans. It was very emotional. And there was TV cameras and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going, what did I get myself into? But he saw something in me when he asked me to start that monthly article. Because I said, oh, I'm not a writer. And he said, well, who wrote your speech? And I said, well, I did. And he said, Kim, you're a writer. And he saw something in me that I never did or never even thought of. And that was the little spark. And then getting that job from the owner recognizing something also. And so it was those two little things, those seemingly unimportant, like very fleeting in time things. And looking back, I'm like, oh, now I see why that all played out the way it did. But I love sharing people's stories, especially veterans, because we're all history books. But these guys, oh, golly. And I've interviewed hundreds over the years, and many of them, went through amazing things, amazingly difficult things. And I've interviewed combat veterans and former prisoners of war. And one gentleman, I interviewed him, and he had never shared his story ever. And he would only do it on the phone because he didn't want to see my face when he shared his story. And he said, I know I'm not going to be around much. He was in his late 80s, because I'm not going to be around much longer, but I believe in what you're doing. And I think that these stories should be shared. So I will share this, and I'm going to do it one time and one time only. And he did that. And shortly thereafter, he passed away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what an honor. What an honor. I get teared up thinking about it. What an honor. And so incredibly humbling. And from that point on, I went, yeah, yeah. Because that story was it was in the paper. It was very well received. I had amazing feedback saying, you had me laughing. You had me sobbing. And I thought, wow. And I don't have training in that. It's just, I write with my heart. Was I good at writing back then? No, I think I sucked.
By your own metric, because other people were giving you positive feedback.
Right.
And okay.
So I look back now and see how I wrote then. I'm like, Kim, you did it with a whole lot of heart and not a whole lot of skill. So now I look, 14, 15 years later, I'm like, okay, I'm still doing it with a whole lot of heart and a little more skill now.
Oh
But
my
that's kind of how it started. I never, life happens and people are put on your path for a reason. And I'm one with a strong faith. And so I believe that that little part came into play too and said, yeah, this is what I want you to be doing.
Oh, absolutely. And when you're walking the path that is destined for you, it is amazing the things that you wouldn't think were like part of it, right? But it was all part of it. It sounds like you were even trained in your military experience to be able to hold those kinds of conversations, hold that kind of space, and hold those kinds of stories, because I don't know that anybody else would be as qualified to do something like that.
Well, no, there it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly empathetic,
Yeah.
crazy empathetic. And a lot of those, so many of those stories, I couldn't sleep for a few days.
Sure.
Because, yeah, and I said, be as honest as you feel you're able to, but please be honest.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
don't sugarcoat
Yeah.
because there's nothing sweet or beautiful or lovely about war. Nothing. There's nothing romantic about it, no matter what the movies or books say. And they didn't hold back. And I didn't want them to because I wanted them to be authentic. And it got to a point where people were starting to worry about me because they're like, Kim, you're carrying it.
Yeah.
You can't absorb it. Hear it, share it, but when you share it and you write it down, you're releasing it. And I had to learn to do that. I had to actually talk to a therapist
Yeah.
because then it was bringing up things I went through personally while I was in the military. So it became a bit of a swirl at times. And then it came to pass that I found out that I live with PTSD due to an experience I had. And I was like, that's why I can empathize so strongly with these guys, even though I'm a different era, a completely different age. Because, I talked to World War II vets, Korean vets, Vietnam vets, Iraqi war vets, you know, all of them, Afghanistan. And I think I was a comfort spot for them because I was outside their bubble. I wasn't their wife or mom or sister, and they could just let it go. And I'm like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to take this for a bit, I will. But you have to help me release it. And so I was able to learn how to do that and better able to compartmentalize certain things. So it wasn't, so I could sleep, you know?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I just wonder, like, when you are you still doing these interviews, and then are you still publishing them in like that, in like a weekly or a monthly way, or how are you
No,
doing?
I did that for about 14 years.
Okay.
And it did get to the point where it's like, Kim, you got to take a break now.
Sure.
And so then I kind of turned my focus elsewhere. And again, it was another person that was put in my path and said, would you like to be part of an anthology I'm putting together and sharing your story of, your military experience? And I went, no, because
No,
I'd
because
never shared
you
it.
share other people's stories. You don't write. Oh, so what changed?
She talked to me a lot and listened. She actually heard me. There's a big difference. She heard me. And she said, Kim, you've never shared this. So I know I'm not in your shoes, but I know how hard this is going to be for you. But there's a reason you and I met. And your story is going to be a light for somebody else because there's someone sitting out there in that dark spot, like I had just shared with her. And she said, you have to share this. And I kept saying no. Like, no, no flipping way. But I did. I did share it, and I kept it very general because that was the only way at that time I could do it. But I got incredible feedback from that. And it was from then on I was like, okay, I like this anthology idea. And so I started a few years later gathering people on my own to create my own anthologies. And I've done 6 of them now. And the last 2 were all about pets. They're just how pets enrich our lives. And because my dogs that have been in my life have been my rock in my darkest spots. And so, I know I'm not the only person on the planet whose animal has helped them through very tough times, or sometimes a day or an hour to get through the day. So I think all authors are just a little wonky. And I think
You have to be a little bit.
you have to be. And for me anyway, if everything in my life had been perfect, I wouldn't be writing.
Certainly not.
And I wouldn't be able to notice and recognize in others and to feel it. I physically feel it at times. I'll be like, oh, they have a story. Oh, and sometimes it's the right time to chit chat and sometimes it's not. So I go by my gut instinct because it's usually guided by something else. And, you know,
I love that. That's
yeah.
so beautiful. It feels like this whole interview has been like, if we were to leave one theme, it really is like faith and walking your path and listening to those calls. Even if we say no the first few times, I can relate to that very much. And I call my path with God like a kicking and screaming path. Like I'll go, but I'm going kicking and screaming.
I say he hits me with a 2x4 every once in a while. He's like, child, I've been telling you this 4 and 5 times.
Yeah, and I feel like dragged. I feel like, okay, I'm coming, but I'm mad. And like, this is me, And so, no, that's so relatable to me. I can completely appreciate that because I hear those calls and sometimes they'll be like, oh, no, no, I'm too scared for that. No, thank you.
Or you're like, I'm not feeling it today. I feel like crap myself today. And you want me to go make someone else feel better? Are you kidding me? Yeah.
So relatable. Oh my goodness. So I wonder for your anthologies, did you self-publish or do you self-publish your anthologies?
Yes, I have. And the first 3, they were faith-based. And I partnered up with another lady, beautiful soul from the UK.
Okay.
And that was right in the midst of COVID when the world had shut down. And I met her because I was like, well, I can't be in this house, just me and my dog. I'll go crazy. So I got online and I'm like looking for networking groups or female author,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I ended up in a group that I joined, and she was one of them. And she said, I want to start a faith-based publishing company. And I went, I want to do faith-based anthologies. you know. So her and I, that first 12 months, which was the whole, that first 12 months of COVID, that whole year, we gathered over 60 women from around the world and ended up publishing through her publishing house, her small publishing house that she started, 3 anthologies. And
Holy.
it's called the When Grace Found Me anthology. So it was just volume 1, 2, and 3. And it was called When Grace Found Me. And amazing stories from women, all walks of life, all different nationalities and ethnicities. And and I learned so much and I met the most amazing and beautiful souls through that. And that was the start of it. The next one I did on my own was called When Hope Found Me. And that word is just so prevalent from that point. So that was an anthology and then moved on to the pet ones. So,
What a
yeah.
cool journey. It's not like you really it's not like you're really doing anything different than what you did before, right? You're still gathering stories, collecting them and putting them out in the world for other people. So it feels like that is a very interesting path that led you to doing these anthologies. It's beautiful. It's
And
absolutely.
it's fun. It's a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work to do anthologies. So the last 4 that I've done, I publish them under my own. I made my own little publishing house called Page Turner Publishing, and I publish them through that. And my own books, like my last book was Nuggets of Hope. Again, hope is a big, big theme the last 3 years for me, and that plays a part in everything I write and everything I do because I've been told to. you know and I finally listened. So, but it's been an amazing, wow, an amazing journey. The pet anthologies, Proceeds from that go to a local no-kill shelter in my area, so I don't make a dime on those. And as anyone knows, if you're not famous, you don't make a lot of money on your books anyway. So what money I do, because people are like, oh, you published a book, you must be. And I'm like, oh, don't even finish that sentence. Because one month I might make $6. Next month I might make 112. One month I made $2.17. But I am grateful for every penny because every time I look, I chuckle and say, look, someone bought a book again. People are actually, reading what I put together or what I wrote. And the feedback that I get, no, might be months in between, but then I'll randomly get a message through my website or something saying, hey, I just read Nuggets of Hope. And in that chapter, blah, blah. And you said blah, blah. And I've been doing that now. I've been trying to do that now every day. And I'm like, wow, okay, yeah.
That's all it really takes for an author to keep going. It's so not that much. It's so not that much. One person saying like, you're doing it, you're doing a good job, I appreciate you. Sometimes that is all that it takes to just
Yeah.
like,
Or you see that, hey, I only sold 2 books last month. That's 2 people. And a lot of people get the books and then they share them. That's a
yeah,
lot of the feedback that I get. They're like, well, I read it and I shared it with my sister, and it's just, I mean, I'm like, yeah, okay, then don't buy them, share them, pass them on. I
oh,
don't care. Put them,
yeah,
I'll give you a whole bunch to put in those free little libraries all over the place now.
yes,
Take one, leave one.
yes. Because the purpose is getting it out there. Sometimes it's just to get it into the hands.
And because someone out there needs to read whatever message that's meant for them in that book. And that's my prayer all the time. Let the book land in the hands who need it most, whether they purchased it or it was a gift to them. Or maybe they found it, in the garbage. I don't know. But
That's
that's my goal. My goal is never, dollar signs have never been something that's in the forefront on any of the things I've written. Then I've had people tell me, well, you should be doing this and you can make more money and you could do it. And I'm like, well, maybe that's your path, but that's not how my path is being guided. I
and
think
for
if it
every
was
author.
guided by dollar signs, it just makes me go, ugh. I
Yeah,
don't think it wouldn't reach who it's supposed to reach.
yeah, especially for what you do, gathering the stories and putting them in the world. Like the point is validation. The point is here, your story is out there, you're free, you're safe, right? I mean, there's so much that you can gain from having that out in the world. I think that's so beautiful. I usually ask questions around self-doubt and vulnerability. And I wonder if you have any tools that you've developed throughout your process. I mean, you've been doing this for almost 2 decades now, it sounds.
That's a long time. Yeah.
So
Geez.
how,
Sometimes
how
I'm like, what? I look back and go, what?
exactly. So I just wonder if you can share with our audience any tools that you had collected over the years to just that like help you through this process. You did work with a little imprint, and then you did create your own imprint, and you continue to do this process. So I'm guessing you do have some strategies that help you kind of continue to do this.
I'm stubborn and persistent.
Those are qualities that are
That's
required for being an author.
that's the main thing. Now, one thing that I have done since 2020, so almost 6 years now, because I used to work in the corporate world and it was 25 years of sales and marketing. And so, that's like my background. And I thought, well, I was always teased at that I can sell a widget to anybody. But I'm like, how do I market myself? So you know what I did? I taught myself and I found all kinds of free online webinars and I joined network groups and met people who knew more than I did. And to me, that's the main tool you need to have in your tool belt. Never think that you've learned all that you need to learn, because you would be wrong and you'll be proven wrong eventually. Always, at least I'm like, okay, I want to build my tribe. Make sure you've got the right people, because sometimes, you're going to run into the wrong people. And I did over the years. I was like, no, that wasn't the greatest choice, Kim. And I spent money I shouldn't have spent. I've made my mistakes. And then I'm like, oh, Kim, what were you thinking? But I was trying. And so always surround yourself when it comes to your writing and that. Get at least one person or two people that know a lot more than you, a whole heck of a lot more than you. Join a network group. And on those days where you're like, this is so hard, I'm never going to be able to get this done. I don't have money to have it edited because I can't edit it myself, and blah, blah, all these things. When all of that, when all of that starts creeping in, think back to why you started to begin with. What's your story? Have you shared your story? Why did you start writing? And try and find that spark again. And baby steps forward are still steps forward. And I had someone tell me, and they weren't being negative at all. They just like, well, Kim, you should be at this point. They were going by, like their own ruler. You should be, 5 feet here. You should be up here by now. And I'm like, well, what makes you say that? Because my journey is not yours. My niche and my readership are not yours. And I might be going at a turtle pace in your eyes, but I'm still going forward. And it stops that person in their tracks. And I wasn't being mean or rude. I was just gently saying, my journey's not yours. And I'm not going to take it like you're trying to make me feel bad or less than. It's the other thing. Don't let anybody make you feel less than, because their journey is not yours. Their story is not yours. Here's a good practice for a writer. Write a letter to your 5-year-old self as the adult that you are now. Write a letter to your 5-year-old self. And that's all I'm going to say. I did that one time and I shot it out. I said, I'm going to try this as like a contest. So I sent it out to a bunch of women that I had met throughout networking and stuff. Said, hey, random idea. There's no cost for any of this. It's just a thought I had. You guys want to share like an up to like 500, 600 word letter to your 5-year-old self? And all of them said, I'm in. I'm like, okay, and I'll make up an award badge, and whoever gets 1, 2, and 3, you can share it. I mean, no big deal. I'm not like this, it wasn't a big award or anything like that, but they all wanted to participate. Every single person, and I did it myself too. Every single person shared the letter to their 5-year-old self. They shared how hard life can be at times. They shared trauma. I mean, they shared stuff that they had never shared before. And at the end, it was like, but I'm hugging you now and letting you know you're going to make it through. You're going to be okay. That was one of the most amazing exercises I had ever done for myself. And these women blew me away, because I was like, how can I possibly pick 1, 2, and 3? I did, but it was very, very hard. But what an exercise. Try that, because then that gives you something to hold on to and look at and realize just how far you've come. And how amazing is that?
Yes, I think that's so beautiful. And just to be able to hold space for yourself and say, like, look what I've done, look at how far I've come, like you said, I think what a beautiful exercise. And I hope everybody who listens does try that. I'm gonna try that because why not?
Oh, it's amazing. All I said was write a letter to your 5-year-old self. There was no direction at all. And they all came back with incredibly personal stuff. I was like, wow. It was so amazing. And I think that you'll be surprised at because you don't have to share it with anybody. Just if you're a journaler, keep it in your journal, whatever. Save it for your own daughter one day. I don't know. But I honestly think that it's worth doing.
Yeah.
And you can do it at different times in your life. Because I did that, well, close to 6, 7 years ago. A whole lot of life has happened in those past 6, 7 years. I could go back and write another letter to myself,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So it really is, it's a good exercise. And I do recommend it because in a way it's freeing, but it also shows you what a badass warrior you really are.
That's really
Because
what I was thinking.
you're,
Yeah.
you're standing there writing to your previous self. That means you've made it through.
Yes.
So you have a 100% success rate.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
doesn't get better than a 100% success rate. So go you.
Yes. What a
That's
way to celebrate.
that's
I
my
think,
thought.
oh, no, that was beautiful. That was so perfect. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing so many details and so much about your path too, because I really think that my audience is going to find things that they can relate to. And I feel like you've given so many beautiful tips along the way. I hope everybody does this letter to themselves. I think that is so, so beautiful. But I do want to ask, where can everyone find you and where can they find your books?
Best place to find me, it's kind of like a one-stop shop, is my website, which is my name, kimlenglingauthor.com. So my podcast is on there. I am the host of the podcast called Let Fear Bounce. So that is on there. My books are on there. What's coming up next is on there. And my dog, Dexter, he is my office manager. So he's on there. So when you do contact me, it's filtered through him because he keeps me on track. And he's the one that tells me when I need to take a walk, when I need a drink, and when I need a treat. So he is my office manager, so you can see Dexter on there as well. KimLenglingAuthor.com. And all my books are on Amazon.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today.
This was so fun. Thank you. It's been a blessing.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Project Seed Money. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I will see you with another interview next week.